Welcome to the New York Business Leaders Podcast, presented by the Coyle Group. We interview the most interesting and influential business leaders in New York and hear their stories of success, challenges, and lessons learned while building their businesses and personal brands. New episodes drop weekly, so please be sure to subscribe to get updates in your favorite stream. Without further delay, here's your host of the New York Business Leaders Podcast, Gordon Coyle.
Welcome back to the New York Business Leaders Podcast. Today, I have Robert Weiss on the show to talk about a subject I'm pretty passionate about, video. More specifically, video used to market a business. Robert's company, MultiVisionDigital, has been in business over 10 years and has produced over 1,000 client videos in a variety of industries. Some of his target markets include legal and accounting, financial services, life sciences, and manufacturers. If you've ever considered the use of video in your business and didn't know where to start, I think your first call should be to Robert. He says several times during our conversation that it's all about strategy first, distribution second, and creating content third. That sort of turns the model upside down, where most people start with the content piece first. Whether you want video content to help you sell your product or service, or help maintain top-of-mind awareness with your customers, prospects, or centers of influence, or help to retain your current clients, Robert's got ideas and solutions to fit those needs and wants. Hey, a quick shout out to Marcus Sheridan and Tyler Lessard, who co-wrote a book called The Visual Sale. Robert mentions it during our conversation, and I went out and purchased it the next day and have really enjoyed reading it. If you're on the cusp of doing video, or already deep into it, I'd also highly recommend this book, and it'll help give you a bit of a roadmap for your journey. Some really great stuff in there. If you'd like to reach out to Robert, check out his website, MultiVisionDigital.com, all one word, where you'll see his contact info. Now, before we get to the show, please give this a thumbs up if you're watching it on YouTube, or a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform, which will help others find this show. And finally, if you have an interesting story that you'd like to tell here on the New York Business Leaders Podcast, drop me an email and let's chat. My email address is gbcoyle@thecoylegroup.com. Now, on to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the New York Business Leaders Podcast. I'm Gordon Coyle, and today we've got Robert Weiss from MultiVisionDigital on the phone or on the line with us.
On the Zoom.
We're going to do a great recording here and a great conversation. I've known Robert for many years, and I'm going to ask him to spend a couple of minutes talking about his digital video company. And take it away, Robert.
All right, thank you. And I think I'm going to start off with kind of tweaking what you said is, a digital video company. We're not a video production company per se. We're actually a professional services company. And we approach things from a digital marketing standpoint. Everything that we do is about providing the services, not just the video creation, the video production services, but the before and after, strategizing around what the right content to create is, making sure that content is being distributed properly. And then of course, that comes with creating the right content. So I never introduced myself as a video production company. It's always a digital marketing company that specializes in sales and marketing video content. And again, it's about the professional services.
That's a great differentiator. And I think it clarifies, or it helps to clarify what we're going to talk about today. So I'd like to kind of start off by asking you and it kind of gels with what you just talked about. When a business owner calls and says, hey, I hear video is a great way to communicate or a great way to get new business or to build my business, and they have no idea of what they're doing or what they want to achieve, how does that conversation go? How does it start? What do you talk about?
So the first thing I tell them is that you're absolutely right. Video is an amazing piece of content that drives sales, leads, social metrics, and a whole lot more. But really the first thing that I try to get them to do is to stop thinking about video. We have an expression: when you start thinking about video, the first thing to do is stop thinking about video. It's not about the video. It's about the business objectives. It's about the content. Are you trying to advertise your business? Are you trying to nurture? Are you launching a product? Are you trying to recruit? You would create different pieces of content for each one of those business objectives. So video is the same. You need the right video content for the right business strategy. So it always starts with that, piece of the puzzle first. And that's where I really try to focus them on. And then once we create the strategy, what is the distribution channel, right? Is it, if it's a product launch, are you going direct? Are you going through the channel? You need to support the channel. Do you need to advertise the product, or is it more of a B2B product? Is it technical in nature? Would you create a brochure? Do you have case studies? Like, what would you normally do without video? Like, how would you distribute that message? And again, we need to create the right content that fits the strategy that resonates through the distribution channel.
So strategy first.
Strategy first, distribution second, content third. Where most of my clients want to start with the content first.
Yeah, they want to start with the results.
Yes.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So I'll take a step back and say that I started heavy in video content probably around March, and started developing almost on a daily basis video content. I was putting on YouTube, putting it on my website, trying to get some traction with it. And now after 6 months, I've kind of slowed down a little bit. And I just gave this advice to a buddy of mine. And I said, if I could do it all over, I would have taken a big step back and strategized around what was I trying to achieve with video. I think it certainly helped my social metrics. It helped my channel. It helped my website. Excuse me. It got some leads in the door. But if I was more strategic around what I was trying to achieve, I think I would have been way further ahead today than I am already. But I think that's a great piece of advice.
That's kind of like everything though, right? So every person, company is approaching video differently, right? So somebody listening to this might say, okay, I really do need to start with strategy first. And then somebody else listening is like, well, I just want to get started with it, and then I'll dip into the strategy later because I don't know anything about how to do it. I don't have an on-camera presence. So, I don't think there's any right or wrong, although, starting with the strategy and understanding the distribution channel allows you to create the content that you need for that objective.
Yeah. And I would also say that there's a lot of babes in the woods out there, so to speak, meaning that a lot of people, they kind of hear that content and video content is powerful, but there's no authority. There's no book that you can pick up and say, oh, I'm going to read this book and become an expert on doing video, right? You're going to reach over and grab a book, right? You're going to prove me wrong. Thanks, Robert.
Okay.
So he's got a book.
Shout out to Marcus Sheridan, Tyler Lessard. This is an awesome book, right? I mean, you can see like my notes here at the end of this book. This is how many notes a video guy who's doing it for 10 years has from reading this book. It's great. It's great. But the core message of this book is really stick to your business processes and create a whole bunch of video content for all the different business objectives that you have, sales, recruiting, SEO, thought leadership, case studies, advertising, the list goes on, are all different types of video content that you need that have varying degrees of production value. Like we're doing video right now on Zoom, right? People do video on this. And then I've got this, nice SLR camera behind me with a nice lens. When I've got like 7 lenses that I could use, that's another degree of video quality, right? We're doing all of those. So the cadence and figuring out when and where is something that people kind of need to figure out, right? Because every company is a little bit different.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I was at a conference last month where Marcus Sheridan was the keynote speaker. And he spent probably 2 hours just kind of like talking, and everybody was like just mesmerized. He's a great speaker, but I'll kind of reference his first book, and I don't think I've got it on a shelf near me. It's probably on my Kindle. That's probably what on the book. They asked, you answer, which was written probably, I don't know how long ago, but it was when Sheridan owned a pool company and was almost going bankrupt. He told this story during his keynote, and he heard that content writing online was a great way to attract new business. This was before video. And now he's like the guru for small business, small, medium-sized businesses around content and video content. And he's got an agency that does this work as well. So 2 good books from Marcus Sheridan. Thank you for the second one. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah,
so
it's really good.
Yeah, so maybe taking a step back, and we've talked a little bit about strategy, content development. Tell us, who are the kinds of clients you're working with? I know it's a broad mix, but tell us like who you're working with and the kinds of projects you're working on, just so we can kind of get a flavor of that.
So I'll start with, maybe some people might think this is an obnoxious answer, but we work with people that get video. Right? That's the first and foremost. It's really early adoption phase right now. It's kind of like circa 2002, 2003 website creation, where not everybody had a website at that time, right? But the people that saw the opportunity, they understood that, that websites were going to be around for a while. They got their first website. They understood it, the development side, the marketing side. So it's more like a personality trait right now with video. You're a great example. Like you're, kind of a small, mid-sized company. You've been doing video for a while, and then you've just recently invested to get a higher quality production out of your videos, right? I talk with, smaller firms than yours that are investing the right amount. And then I talk to billion-dollar companies that have no plans for video. I'm like, what? Like, PS, these are like law firms that the people are the product. So, do you have paper or video to get the personality out there of their product, right? They don't get it. So that being said, we do focus on certain industry segments, legal and accounting being kind of like one bucket, if you will, manufacturing being the other. And then everything else falls in between in terms of financial services, nonprofits, software as a service, et cetera, et cetera. Life sciences is another one that we're doing a little bit more work in recently, and we see that as a huge opportunity because with like life sciences and biotech, these are all like new innovations that people need to explain. And when you need to explain things, that's where video really comes into, kick up the understanding of that particular, product, service, molecule, process, whatever that might be, because you can have somebody explaining, add that personal trust and credibility, but also have like a cutaway slide to some type of motion graphic that really shows and explains as that person's talking. So we see life sciences as a huge opportunity for us.
So in my world, insurance, business insurance, nobody wants to read. They don't want to read the nitty gritty to understand a particular aspect of a policy or an exclusion or anything relative to that. And I would think it's kind of the same in other industries. From my perspective, video is impactful because people don't like to read anymore. They want it to be served up to them into bite-sized pieces, not to be insulting or anything, but I think it's just the way people have become, and they're too busy, they're too rushed. If they want a little kernel of knowledge, they don't want to read 16 pages about it. They'd rather watch a 2-minute video. Is that kind of what you're seeing and why it's so powerful in the professional services space?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's not to say that they won't read, but at the very beginning of the research cycle, like who's out there that can solve my problems, right? They're going to develop a short list. As they go through the sales process, they might be talking, doing Zooms, meet in person. They might do some reading, but then also they're going to watch videos, because video gives the most amount of information in the shortest amount of time. So why wouldn't somebody want to consume that when it can do that? So that's what we all want. We want the most amount of information in the shortest amount of time. That's why video is so powerful, within the lead generation and sales process.
Now, for a law firm that doesn't talk the language of lead generation and sales process, their conversation is more geared around business development. What's most important for a law firm in the video conversation? Is it being able to project their personality, their skill set? Like what are you mostly capturing in, let's say, both attorneys and accountants?
Well, keeping top of mind is probably most important. So I was on a Zoom call today with a pretty large firm. They've got 7 offices, probably 500-600 lawyers. And this particular BD person was in the litigation practice area. And I asked him, like, wow, like how do you do business development within litigation when, like, you never know when someone wants to litigate, right? So top of mind awareness was really important to him, and providing that high level expertise to clients or prospects, but doing it at a level where you're out there, so they think of you when they have that litigation need. So going back to what you said, 2-minute video, or even let's go, instead of 16 pages, go down to 5 pages. Right?
Yeah.
So 2-minute video or 5-page, whatever it is, which one would somebody want to consume, right? And also, which one really showcases the skill set, the insight, the personality, bedside manner of the partner more? Well, this is video, video, video. So this is like some of the things that, video does for a law firm or any professional services company, because I don't care if you sell a product, you still have people implementing that product. You still have people selling that product. You still have people that need to build that, know, like, and trust factor, and that's what video does.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the business development person in the litigation department of this large law firm, they were going to create video content. How were they then going to distribute that? I'm just curious. Who was that going to go to?
Yep. Well, that is unique to each individual firm and the processes and the people that they have, which is why at the very beginning of this conversation, we talked about strategy first, distribution second, content third, right? So some of my questioning is, what do you have set up? Do you have an email marketing program? Do you have, obviously social media like everybody has now? Like, how are you getting the client alerts out now to your prospective clients? And that's what we would leverage to push the video content through. So every firm is different.
Got it. Interesting. When I was at that conference I mentioned earlier with Marcus, he brought up the fact that, and this was a little startling, and I think to everybody in the audience, and maybe to this audience it will be as well, maybe it's not that startling, that the buyer's journey is 80% complete before they engage the seller. So regardless if they're buying insurance or they're buying professional services or they're buying a mattress or a food processor, that buyer has spent 80% of their time before they either talk to a salesperson on a showroom floor or pick up the phone and speak to me or anybody else.
Yeah.
That fascinates me, because And I think when you think about it, each of us spend a lot of time looking at reviews and, how many stars did this get on an Amazon product review? Are you kind of finding that in your work with your clients as well? Are they kind of like learning this as well, this 80% statistic?
I think they're still learning it. It surprises me how many people don't know this already. I still talk to people, oh, we don't get any leads through SEO. Oh, you're missing out. Like, why are you not? Why are you not investing in SEO, right? So anything that can help to improve your digital footprint, I think is important because of that fact. Now, whether it's 80%, or I've seen 69% and 58%, like whatever that number is, it's still pretty high. And one of the things that I say with video is that our personal behavior has always driven our business behavior, right? Like there's people watching this that don't know anything, but I can buy my airline ticket and hotel online. That wasn't the case, but we became comfortable doing that. And now we buy things online without even thinking, without any hesitation. And we spend sometimes make 5 or 6 figure purchases online. We're comfortable doing that now, right? So with YouTube, basically, being the main driver of video content globally, we are comfortable watching video in our personal lives, also on TV. I mean, like the next movie you watch is just really a long video. And that is driving our business behavior, right? In terms of consuming that type of content. And maybe more importantly, making decisions based upon that content.
Mm-hmm. So when you're working with a business owner, let's say small and medium-sized business owner who wants to use video, and they've got a bunch of challenges and they don't know, how to overcome them. How do you help smooth over those bumps with them? What are the challenges that they're facing, and how do you work with them?
There could be multiple challenges, based upon each business owner, but I think one of the common challenges is getting in front of the camera. And what I would say then is talk to the camera like it's your client. Get a Post-it note, and when you're going to do a video, have 3 bullet points ready, and like you can use a Post-it note as small as this. Put it up next to your camera and just talk to your client about those 3 bullet points. Like if I asked you anything about financial services now, you could give me an answer, right? So, and don't expect to be great the first time. There are a few people that are, most are not. You need to learn how to pick your hands up every so often and show the camera your hands, even though you're from the way, kind of from the chest up. Like those are things that you will learn over time. But if you don't get started now, you'll never learn them.
It's funny that you mentioned hands, because I use my hands a lot, as I am right now. And for those that are listening on the podcast, I'm waving my hands furiously in front of the screen. But I belong to a mastermind group of other insurance brokers, and we kind of like just look at each other's social, and because I'm doing a lot of video, the guys will watch my videos. And one guy in the Midwest is like, "Boy, you New Yorkers really talk with your hands a lot." I'm like, I'm not sure if that's. We do. It's just part of our expression. I don't know if it's me personally, or if I just feel like standing in front of a camera without my hands moving is just boring as heck, and I need to mix it up. So it's just interesting that you bring that up. It's just a funny point.
It's also not natural to you, and that will come through on camera. Like I have a lot of times where I direct people, their hands are like this. I'm like, okay, next take, unclasp your hands. Be natural.
We don't need white knuckles.
as you do video over time, and again, let me flip that for a second. As people watch your videos over time, they'll get to know you, because you'll have different hair, you'll have like, a beard, or you're wearing different shirts, or you'll be in a different setting, or whatever that is. So they're going to kind of get to know you. So why not just be yourself? Like, don't worry about, oh my gosh, somebody's not going to like me and they're not going to buy from me. Well, guess what? If they meet you, they're going to have that same interaction. They're not going to like you. So
That's true.
get to the know sooner.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for people, especially established professionals, that are mature in their age group. I think for 20, 30 somethings who have been in front of their camera incessantly since birth, I think it's easier for a lot of younger people. For folks our age, I think it's more difficult to not be self-conscious, to not have like, oh, people are going to think I'm goofy, or they're going to not like the way my hair looks, whatever it may be. How do you said like you just got to get in front of the camera more, and maybe your coaching style when you're filming them helps them, but what other tips would you have for people who may be doing this on their own or who want to work with you in the future? How do you get comfortable in front of the camera?
Well, I've got a video that I could pop up right now to share it. I'm not going to go look for it, but basically it is be prepared with the message, have 3 bullet points, look at the camera like it's your client, like I'm looking at the little dot right now. Most of the time I'm looking at you on screen, but now I'm looking at the dot, and just be who you are, right? Again, just people are buying you for your knowledge, not for necessarily the way, you look. And one other thing I might add is that by understanding the process, right? You don't need to be perfect with video. Even in this recording right now, we know that we messed up. Somebody watching this now is seeing the edited version.
That's right.
Because we messed up.
Right.
We know that we're going to edit. So most people get in front of the cameras like, I need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. That's what editing is for.
Yeah.
So you don't really know that and understand what that whole process and what the final video is going to be until you've been through that process.
Right.
But once you've been through that process, the second time you do video, you understand it and you're more prepared for that.
And maybe if people knew about the editing process, they wouldn't face video with such trepidation. Maybe they'd say, I'm going to call this guy Robert and get started. Maybe there's some people who are watching or listening to this and saying, yeah, I'd like to do video in my business, but I'm too nervous in front of the camera. And I think if they knew that all the flubs and mix-ups and misstatements and blank spaces, they disappear and they become smooth and fluid once it's edited. It's kind of an amazing thing, like you said, that most people don't know behind the scenes.
Yeah. And P.S., you don't want all the flubs taken out. Like we don't want this to be a perfect, we're not actors, we're business people. Right. So if you're up on stage, Marcus Sheridan, you mentioned 3 times, when he was up on stage, did he stop and drink water?
Oh yeah.
Did he pause? Did he stutter a moment or two? Right?
Oh yeah.
Did he
sure.
stop to think? Yeah, he did all that. Right. So for us regular business people, we are not actors. Don't try to be one. I guess that's a final tip, right? Just be who you are and don't try to make that video perfect, because that's not natural and that's not who they would end up buying.
And that's not the objective, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. It's what you're saying. It's the information. That's what you want to get across.
Great. Could you share with us maybe a couple of client success stories where you got involved, you got them up and going, and maybe what happened with video after it was out there and the results of it?
Yeah, there's so many. Like I said, we've done about 900, like 1,000 videos over the last 10 years, but I do have a couple more smaller business success stories
that'd be great.
I could share. One of them was Peter, and he came to us. He had a business plan in hand, no company, and he was pitching VCs. He's trying to get funding. So after 6 months of getting nowhere, came to us to create a video of this chocolate making store that he wanted to make, like the experience of making your own chocolate, and like not just the chocolate bars, but like pops and like all the cool chocolate stuff. So what we did is we did a mock video of the whole process of chocolate making, made a nice edit with that, put some motion graphics in there. And within 4 months, he had $480,000 in the bank.
Wow.
Right. And we've got a testimonial from him. We have it up on our YouTube channel. And he says his ability to change the dynamic in the first 3 minutes of that meeting, when he's sitting down in front of VCs. Hi, my name is Peter. Here's my company. Click. He said, everybody stopped looking at their phones. Everybody looked up. Nobody interrupts a video versus a PowerPoint slide. Within a minute and 27 seconds, everybody got his concept. So rather than him wasting time explaining his concept, he's like, okay, open up to page 14 and let's talk about the financials. So that's a huge win. And if you think about it, like everybody has that problem of trying to explain, especially first time in front of people, who you are, what your product is, or whatever about your company. A video can do that really short, really succinctly. Another success story is with a business to consumer company. They do boilers and burners in apartment buildings and homes in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And he came to me and said kind of the same thing you said at the very beginning. My web guy told me that video is great. It helps convert this and that. And I asked him what his business objective was. He says search. And he had a decent budget, and he wanted to do one kind of like about us video. And I said, well, okay, you can do one about us video, but let me just ask you, since search is important, are you doing one blog post? No. Do you make one phone call to follow up with a sale? No. Do you send one email? No. Like, so why would you want to do one video and expect that to affect your SEO? Silence. But what we did is we came up with a plan. I think we did like 18 or 19 videos, but instead of that one high level, highly invested in video, which he would have spent all his budget on, we did all of these videos were more FAQ questions. Like, is gas better than oil? What should I do if I smell gas? What's an ESCO? And all these other questions. So they were easy to produce because they were just question and answer. We did him in two or three locations in his office, and then his number two guy or number one guy, Johnny, who had been working with the company for like 30 something years, tons of credibility, guy knew his stuff. Anyway, we gave them back, and his SEO ranking went off the charts.
Wow.
Because we gave him that plethora of content for his web company, them to optimize a lot more pages versus one video.
Yeah. For around the same budget.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So two big contrasts. So a startup with an idea pitching VCs, and a contractor attracting new customers for his service. Any others that you want to throw out there?
I'm trying to think of like another more diverse things. We've done another startup that we did a crowdfunding video for that.
Okay.
The video helped. I mean, the product was good, don't get me wrong, but it raised like 1.3 million.
Wow.
And that was pretty outstanding. And then just the blocking and tackling. We did another series of FAQ videos for a company called Jet Pulverizer. They do jet milling, and 3-4 years later, their sales team are still using these videos like every day to build credibility, because the videos are of their technical team explaining how a jet mill works, what micro grinding is, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all common questions. So with our kind of distribution consultation, we help them optimize that on their website. We work with their SEO team, and if you go to their website, to those pages, they're placed above the fold, and they use these in lunch and learn. So it's not just waiting for people to come to the website, but they actively use these as follow-up content after trade shows, lunch and learns. They do. Their salespeople go on lunch and learns and don't talk. They literally play videos of their technical team.
Wow.
How much credibility does that give that salesperson?
Right. Exactly.
So those are again videos that just have kept on giving value 4 years later to that organization, because jet mills, the technology hasn't really changed in 50, 60 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So interesting mix of client types, uses, deployment, distribution, great ideas. So I'm sure that COVID impacted your business, and we spoke a little bit before the video started about your remote video capture. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're using it?
Remote video capture is awesome. Not for the high level, like about us videos, high level production, but like customer testimonials, case studies, thought leadership, subject matter expert. We've done videos for healthcare industry segment for a law firm. We did like 7 partners. We did a montage video of 6 lawyers for Women's Day. And we've continued to do, utilize remote video captures, basically a software that goes on iOS devices that allows us to have some controls over the phone, but more importantly, shoot natively on the phone up to 4K. And then once we stop and start, do different takes, we upload the footage to the cloud, we download that, and basically we're shooting 4K, or so we're editing 4K video content. And then we can do anything that we want with that in terms of overlays, in terms of adding animation, whatever you have, we're doing this remotely. And we have seen just tremendous results from this. We actually had this before the pandemic, but it's been a huge success this past year. And we see it being a much larger piece of our business going forward, even when everybody goes back to the office, whenever that'll be, in earnest. We're talking to a law firm now that has 14 locations in the US. How does that one local marketing person now support all of these offices with video content when they've got 1,000 lawyers?
Right.
This is how to do it cost effectively, right? Because that thought leadership content does not necessarily have to be the highest produced type of content. Still needs to be professional. And, as I said at the very beginning, we are a professional service. So it's not so much about this type of camera or that type of camera or this type, but it's about the coaching and directing of the talent or the partner, so they do come across like they normally would talking to a client.
Interesting. And I've got to imagine that, the device itself is shooting pretty high quality video, pretty good audio. It's probably, for a lot of folks that are using it, less intimidating than having a cameraman there with a $15,000 camera set up and the lights and everything. It may just kind of help grease the wheels to make it a little bit more efficient and less intimidating for the person that's speaking as well.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. We've got a process in place where we do pre-production.
Okay.
And setting up their office or seeing where they are. And then, a day or two later, we'll do the production, which is shooting. And then of course we'll edit that or those videos towards the business objectives that the client has. So yeah, I mean, it is a little less intimidating, but still, most people need that coaching and directing.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Well, Robert, it's been a great conversation. Before we wrap up, is there anything you want to talk about that maybe I missed or you want to throw into the mix here?
No, and we can another year or so we can do part 2. Yes, because there's so much to do with video. I think we hit a lot, and hopefully who's ever watching this till now has gotten a lot of good value out of it. But there's a lot more to go.
That's for sure. If somebody wanted to reach out and connect with you, how's the best way to do that?
MultiVisionDigital.com. My contact information is at the top of the page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'll make sure that
put it here on screen. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes, and I'll have it in the description box on YouTube as well. If you have questions or issues or thoughts about video that you want to contact Robert about, please do. That would be great.
Ask. I'd be happy to answer them, or put them in the comment box below.
Okay, fantastic. And Robert, thanks so much for joining us. Video is a concept that I'm really enjoying, and I'll just, from my own perspective, this is not a paid advertisement for Robert or using video. Once you get comfortable with it and you have a little bit of the technology down, it's a lot of fun. You're communicating. I think my average analytics show that 800 people a month are watching my videos. So I'm bringing knowledge to people. Hopefully it's good and they're experiencing some benefit from it. And I'm sure that if you've got a great message that you want to share with your local community, with your audience, with the broader community or the globe, you can do it. And I think to get started, giving Robert a call would be advantageous. So thanks again for joining us. It's been a great conversation. I'm Gordon Coyle, the host of the New York Business Leaders Podcast. If you have an interesting story that you'd like to tell on this podcast, please contact me. I'll have my information in the show notes as well. And until next time, see ya.
That's it for this week's episode of the New York Business Leaders Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. In the meantime, find more interviews and resources at nybusinessleaders.com.